Mark Hill from Greenleafs. So let's think a little bit in more depth about Labour's current policy on the European Union. They seem to be simultaneously committed to two things. Firstly, a renegotiation of the withdrawal agreement so that it's in line with their views about long-term protection under the ECJ, the European Court of Justice, for the issues of worker rights and environmental protections, rather than the UK taking responsibility for those matters itself. And simultaneously, a second referendum in which there would be a Remain option for which the Labour Party would itself campaign. Now, those set up a very intriguing and complex series of events that have to happen for Labour's policy to be delivered. In particular, of course, Labour has to win the next general election, or at least be part of a ruling coalition that allows this policy to be transmitted. That itself can't happen until the Labour Party has managed to legally block the no deal Brexit from occurring on the 31st of October. So it's already, we're waiting for that Brexit legislation to go through, or anti-Brexit legislation to go through, before that they will then tolerate a general election. Then they have a general election. Then Labour have to win the general election. And then obviously Corbyn has to be selected as Prime Minister, appoint a cabinet, and starts with his manifesto commitments, which are mainly about ending austerity and transforming society. They're not really about leaving the EU at all. However, the next thing he wants to do is to take a draft agreement back to the European Union. Now that, of course, will be based upon the existing withdrawal agreement. And here is the withdrawal agreement in all 599 pages of glory, and agreement on the withdrawal of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland from the European Union and the European Atomic Energy Community, as endorsed by leaders as a special meeting of the European Council on 25th of November 2018. Now, all of that, 600 pages odd, negotiated by Theresa May, is insufficient for Labour. What they want to do is to add in some extra clauses. So on top of this, what they want is protection on worker rights and protection on the future environmental policies of the UK, and they want this essentially to be in line with the European Union ones as those develop in due course. Well, that will require yet more paperwork, and that will all have to be negotiated out. Now, they're then going to take that to the European Union and say, right, is that all agreed? And the European Union and its Council will say unanimously yes, and then it comes back to Parliament, and Parliament pick it over, and Parliament say yes, that's brilliant. Right, then it goes over to the European Parliament, and the European Parliament also have to endorse it. Now, once you've got approval from all of these bodies for the New Deal, or probably by the time we've finished over 1,000 pages of it, the Labour Party's policy is then to put that all to a referendum. So that all gets put to one side, and you say, right, well, that's that, or we remain in the European Union. So then they'll have to put a bill through the House of Commons to set a referendum, and that referendum date would probably be, I don't think they could even manage all of this next year. It would have to be something like 2021. So we have a referendum on membership of the EU or all of this. And then the Labour Party will, having negotiated all this, it will actually cast that aside and instead campaign for remaining in the EU. Well, there are a number of obvious problems with this. I mean, the first is that if this is genuinely Labour's policy, then why would the European Union be at all generous in any of this, any of these plans and withdrawal agreements and codicils and all the rest that will be involved here? Why would they want to give us anything that was at all better than what Theresa May negotiated? And the answer is surely they won't. I mean, particularly if Labour is committed to campaigning against this treaty anyway. And also, isn't this going to take an incredible amount of time and complexity? And aren't there plenty of places in the timeline that I've just given you where this policy could trip up? And does anybody really want to extend this nightmare any longer? Doesn't Parliament have other things to do? In fact, frankly, don't we have other things that we need to go and do? Isn't Labour's policy just completely counterintuitive, bureaucratic and insane? In trying to please everybody, Labour is actually pleasing no one.